Right then, welcome back to another one of our videos. Today we're going to talk about Microsoft 365 and in particular about getting the most value out of a Microsoft 365 subscription. We know a lot of businesses are already using the product or have subscriptions to the product, but it's much bigger and there's a lot more in it than a lot of people even realize. So as always, I've brought together some people from the HBP Group to discuss this. We've got Tony Pearson, we've got Darren Jacklin, and we've got Rachelle Gray as well. So just to start off with, Darren, do you want to just explain what Office 365 generally mean, Office 365, Microsoft 365, what it generally means to people, what historically what that's meant as well, what people think that kind of includes?
Yeah, so historically, and I think a lot of people originally purchased Office 365 when it was called Office 365 was when they needed a newer version of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, or they wanted to move from an on-premise Exchange server to a cloud-delivered or hosted email delivery system. So that's what people tended to just look at Office 365 for: Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and email services. And that was historically what you really saw the main uses of it for. Obviously, as you just mentioned at the beginning, there's been so many variations of that product now and additional applications that's in there that actually a lot of the systems that you can use or that you're using now, you can use using the 365 services. So you're getting so much more for your money than just Word, Excel, PowerPoint.
And has that opinion sort of developed now? Do people realize that it's more than Word, PowerPoint, Excel? Are there a few more that have slipped into that kind of like, I'm expecting to get that service when I buy Office 365 today?
Do you mean as in like
your SharePoints and your OneDrives? Are people a bit more aware of those sort of products now?
They are, but now we've started talking about them a lot more, and obviously they start becoming a lot more mainstream for businesses. Then yes, people are becoming more aware of it. We're hearing a lot more conversations about, oh, what is SharePoint? How do I use that? What does OneDrive do, and what's the differences between the two? And actually, what are some of the other features that are available within there? Okay, I get Word, Excel, PowerPoint. What about Access? What about Publisher? You know, and those other applications, so you can start integrating all these in together. The other thing that's included in it is the what's called Azure Active Directory. And again, it's a bit of a minefield for people to get their head around, but essentially that can do the usernames and passwords and the security element, which you then links into your SharePoint structures.
Okay. And Tony, the Microsoft are fairly well known, certainly within our industry, for having fairly confusing licensing structures and naming structures and all of that. So sometimes people don't even know what they've got at all. How far up the chain, what sort of level of subscription do people need before they start accessing all of these additional things like SharePoint and OneDrive and all the other stuff that's in there?
Even the lower level packages have a lot of these features integrated into them. Microsoft have a few flavors of packages, but the two common ones are the business ones, so business premium, business standard, and then what they call the enterprise plans, the E plans. There are a few more around that, but they're the two common ones. And there's 2 or 3 flavors of each one. Obviously, the higher up the chain you go, the more you get. But even the basic 365 business packages have things like SharePoint in there, OneDrive, things like Microsoft Forms, and all these other small applications that can have a big business impact. And we do see traditionally businesses will have, as Darren said, moved over to Office 365 purely for either Office or primarily for getting off on-prem Exchange servers, for on-premise email servers, because it was more cost effective. We are seeing people use some of these other tools in there like OneDrive and SharePoint, but some of these forgotten apps like Planner and Forms, I think they can be way more widely used, and they are simple to use, and the things that end users can pick up and use themselves, and really have a good business impact.
And when we're talking about that, Tony, in terms of like getting the most out of the software, do you think it's more about using these additional products or just being better at the ones that they use commonly? Can they be better at using Word and Excel and Outlook, or is it actually a case of got all of these products that they're paying for and they're not using them at all?
Absolutely, I think it's an amalgamation of the two. I mean, there's so much functionality in things like Word and Excel, and I bet we all use it in its very basic format. But then there are a lot of other tools out there that people don't use, and with the kind of, I suppose, the push and the emergence of what Microsoft are calling the Power Platform, so Power BI, Power Automate, Power Apps, that's taking it to a next level, and it's giving businesses the ability now to even do their own small development processes or their own small development in-house. The idea of those apps and those reporting tools is that somebody who has a modicum of knowledge of IT can create a report or create a simple app that can be pushed out to a mobile phone to gather information from staff. So there's really a whole host of applications, features and services in there that really people need to look over and see what they do. There's some really cool stuff that can really help power the business, make the business more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's very hard to cover all of these products. I mean, I don't know how many there are now, but probably 15, 20 that I would probably
I'd say
about.
probably 30 plus now.
Maybe
In some of
so even more than that now. So what we'll do then, let's think about a few that we all really like. So if I come to you, Rach, is there one in there that you've had particular experience with or help customers with that you think maybe doesn't get the credit it deserves or more people should be looking into?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be fair, a number come to mind. Probably the first one I would say outside of your standard Word, Excel would be OneNote. I think it's actually regularly overlooked, but a fantastic tool for actually combining all your information into one place. If you've got, a person that writes lots of notes or a person that will create lots of Word documents and save them in a folder, and realistically, they're all gelled together. Because it can be used literally as your note platform, add a tab, great, these are my notes for today, this is what I need to follow up. You could also almost use it as a bit of a clipboard, so you might have a few Word documents, Excel documents, but you can join them all together into OneNote and make your own notes on it and use it as a bit of a platform for reminding yourself what you need to do. We use it internally, and I've also gone through with customers how we use it internally is a little bit what we class as a little bit of a work instruction, work Bible. So we've got everything we need to know process wise written out in our OneNotes with little links into different pages, so you can say, great, I want to be able to, let's say, create an invoice. So in OneNote I'll put our instructions on how to create an invoice and have a little link that says, how do I create a credit? And you can press that link and it'll take you straight to that page. So it's got fantastic navigation, really easy to use, and literally at your fingertips. And one of the big things, and it kind of then I would really say links into OneDrive, is the fact if you put that OneNote in your OneDrive, it's always backed up, it's always readily available, and so you don't ever have to worry, as long as you've got your 365 backup in place, that OneNote's going to go anywhere, because you can literally access it from absolutely anywhere. So definitely OneNote, a big one for me, kind of one of the earlier add-ons, earlier additions to this package, but really has got some fantastic functionality with it.
And I'm a big fan of OneNote as well. And desktop version, there's a web version as well. If you want to see, there's a mobile application. And Tony, am I right in thinking that's available in all of those plans? That's one of the kind of, if you like, the basic packages.
The majority, it's in most of the low-level plans as well, and it's good. It's really good for engineers or people that are on site, because even if you don't have an internet connection, you can still have an offline copy. You can make an amendment. So a boiler engineer on site doing something, finds some new instructions, finds a new way of doing things. He can put some notes in there. As soon as he gets an internet connection, it syncs to everybody and everybody can see it. They can also see who's amended those notes. So it's a really powerful tool used in the right way.
And this is great for those people that have a different notebook for every type of meeting going, that they can find, and then flicking through them for every 5 minutes trying to find. You can search for it, split them up.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And Darren, anything that you have come across or particularly like yourself?
Well, I was going to go with the OneNote as well, because I think it's an extremely useful product and tool that, like Rachel said, is kind of overseen a little bit. But adding to that, I actually really like the teams and the functionalities and everything that comes in there, because okay, we can have a Teams and have a Teams channel and have that chat with each other. But when you start creating further channels where you can add all the different radio tabs along the top, you can have one, I guess, intranet as such within Teams, which gives you your video calling, your chat. You can then link that back to OneNote, so you can have that, integrated straight into there. Similarly, you can link your SharePoint to that. You can go back and take it that step further and put web browsers in there and a web version of your email within there. And I find that is now becoming that central hub, that dashboard. And we actually did this as a project for one of our customers that they had full on-premise solutions and they wanted to know, like, let's go on this cloud journey, how do we migrate? And we looked at everything that they had, and everything that they wanted to do could be done through Office 365. But then the questions was, but do I have to open different applications, different tabs, different systems? It was like, well, no, because we can build you this intranet, we can build you this dashboard where your staff in the morning literally can log into Teams. And that's all they need to log into. And we put these different tabs along the top. And that's worked so well for them. You know, they've got absolutely everything in there that they ever knew: documents, email, web browser, CRM system. They've even gone to a Dynamics 365 account software solution. So again, that sits within there, and they've got that link into it as well. So for me, Teams and the development that it's happened over the last 12 months, 18 months,
Yeah,
absolutely brilliant now for me, that one.
And that's really taking Teams to a level that a lot of people maybe haven't even considered. Most people see that as their chat and their video calling. There's webinar fit functionality in there as well. We've used that to run events for our customers, like you say. Teams that we use both internally as well to manage our kind of workloads, if you like, but also I know you use it a lot, Darren, with customers, don't you, as well, of managing projects and keeping communication in one place and documents and all that side of stuff. So there's so much that can be done there. And as you rightly say, when you link that back to all the notes that you've got in OneNote, the files you've got on SharePoint, you get this central hub that manages all that. And again, Tony, Teams pretty much included in every package now, I would guess.
Yeah, and in the common ones, it's in there, yeah.
And to you, Tone, anything that you particularly like? Any particular favourites?
I think the guys have picked two real good ones there. I think OneNote's not commonly used and can really have a business impact. I think everybody uses Teams, but I think the point Darren's trying to make, it will do much more than probably most people are using it for. I've got to say Power BI. I think Power BI has revolutionised our business. It allows us to report live with dashboards and some meaningful reports. Totally across platforms, different databases, from our phone system to our service management system, project management, finance system, bring it all together to give us some really powerful live KPI dashboards that we can look at any moment in time and make some real quick decisions, and also drill down and find more finer details as and when we need to. I think that's really revolutionized our business. Previously, Power BI or BI platforms were traditionally very expensive to buy and very expensive to implement and install because of the integration. Maybe you'd get one for this platform and one for that platform, so you'd end up with multiple. Power BI is very, very cost effective, and it will pretty much run across any platform, providing there's a database in there. And even if there isn't, you can manually port information into it. So I think it's revolutionised our business. We've obviously worked with a lot of customers where it's had a massive impact with them as well. So I'd have to say Power BI has got to be one of my favourites in there.
So anyone that's come to our office will have seen we've got more boards up, haven't we? I think that links into our phone system so that Rach, your guys on support can see who's on the phone. It shows our ticket progress on the day. It shows kind of where things are from an SLA point of view. So that's porting information in. And Darren, I know from a sales point of view and account management point of view, we use that to feed back to individual customers about their individual stats for support as well. So it's been really useful. Is there anything else we're using that for? Is that the key components at the moment? Or are there other areas in the business that we're using?
Yeah, there are many different areas, because we also use it a bit, statistics wise, make quick decisions. So as a management team, we can kind of view almost our customer experience based on the statistics and information that's coming into our systems at any one point. We have little dashboards that give us flags in terms of information and awareness as a business to make decisions. But another great thing as well is we've got key KPIs. Obviously, any business wants to make sure we're performing. And the great thing about Power BI is that the likes of, the directors of the business have it on their phone and literally can just go into it and go, let's have a quick look at those KPIs and how we're performing. It can be accessed from absolutely anywhere, but in various different ways. So yes, we've got dashboards, yes, we've got KPI reports, but we've also got detailed management reports as well that we use it for. So I think everybody refers to Power BI as those pretty dashboards, but it is much more than that. And it's much more better visibility, I guess, in terms of getting your data out in a meaningful format that makes sense to most people, rather than millions of spreadsheets kicking around everywhere that you've got to manually compile, drag around and interpret.
Yeah. And So taking those on board, so we've got 3 examples there. We could go on and on about various other packages and how to do that. One of the challenges for businesses is then thinking, well, how do I get going with this? How do I, if I want to start using Teams a bit better, or I want to start implementing Power BI, how do businesses need to look at this? Is it like a software project effectively with planning, with implementation time, with training, with ongoing kind of development to that platform, or are there some that kind of just quick switch on, templated, and we can get going? How does that generally work, Rach, on these sort of Microsoft 365 based solutions?
It completely all depends on appetite, I think. One of the first things and one of the great things about Office 365 is that you don't just have to, dive completely in on every single aspect and start using it. You can start thinking about one area of the business that could improve with the use of a report or a dashboard that's easily accessible. Power BI, for example, links to so many data sets that a lot of the time it is literally a case of let's get it installed, let's link it to one data set, and let's have a look at what data is available. Pull out some meaningful key information, see how easy it is to access, and that starts the brain working in terms of how else could I use this in the business. A lot of people think that you've got to, adopt this platform and also start chucking, absolutely everything in it. The best way is actually to think of one key element that you think the business would really benefit from in terms of visualizing information, and by doing that and getting a few key people involved, you then find that then starts to span across the rest of the business as you go, wow, we've done that, we could actually do that for this element and this element, and you build it rather than just diving straight in.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly how we've done it at HBP, isn't it, Tony? I think maybe like Yammer was maybe one of our first implementations, or maybe SharePoint first, sorry, and then Yammer, and then onto Teams, onto Planner, onto various other solutions.
I think, as Rachel said, there's different businesses have different appetites and different ways to do it. We can go in and do a full business process review. Let's look at all the business processes, and then we can take away and see what we can either automate, make slicker, better by using the Office 365 platform. Or it's just a case of, right, we want to focus on Teams, so how can we get the most out of Teams? And then there's other things like Microsoft Forms, OneNote, the videos area, things like that are fairly self-intuitive and aren't a massive application. So take Microsoft Forms, it's very simple, very intuitive to use, but can have a real business impact. Do I want to do a staff survey or a customer survey? Or do I have a word-based form I have to fill in for procurement every single time? And just automating little tasks like that by using forms and maybe adding flow onto it to say when somebody submits it, do X, Y, Z, can have a big business impact and really speed the process up and have a better staff or customer experience at the end of the day. So it really depends where the business is and how they want to tackle it, really.
Absolutely. And from speaking to a lot of businesses, what I found is that Realistic 365 is about getting your information and access from anywhere you ever want to be. Regardless of what app you're using, that is essentially what it's trying to do. So a lot of businesses where they're used to, having to log on into the system, find an Excel spreadsheet, the first actually step is going, well, start using OneDrive and be able to access that Excel spreadsheet on your phone at any time or from any device that you're logged into. All of a sudden, you've got that flexibility. Then it's like, okay, I can access my Excel spreadsheet from anywhere, but who else needs to access it and how easy would it be? So then you can start thinking, right, great, SharePoint. If I put that in SharePoint, everyone can access it. I can see the changes. Fantastic. The next step, okay, does that need to be an Excel spreadsheet? Could we have a much better format for that information? Hence Power BI. So you put it in Power BI. You can then go on very much like Forms and go, great, how could we then maybe automate some of the information that's being populated in the first place? And so you get kind of this big circle just from asking the question of, can I access my information from anywhere I want to, and kind of start growing it that way. And I personally have always found that's the best way, in that try not to think of this, 20, 30 apps that are available. Just start thinking about the first step, which is, how do I get my information at any time?
Yeah,
perfect, brilliant. Okay, well, I think that's great. I think that's a really good way to start, and I'll obviously talk about kind of how the brain can get kind of thinking about this and where we can go with it. It'd be nice, I think, if we in the future on some more videos maybe look a little bit closer, particularly at maybe how best to use OneNote, how best to use Power BI, and Teams, for example, in a little bit more detail. But I think we'll leave it there today, guys. So thank you very much for your input. Really appreciate it as always. And we'll obviously come back soon with some more videos. So thank you.
Thank you,
Cheers.
Phil.
Thanks. Bye.